Who are the ADOS? Groups like the African Descendants Institute of Human Rights is fighting for the American descendants of slavery, the ADOS. The ADOS are an indigenous people who are owed trillions of dollars in reparations. The ADOS must stop claiming to be a minority. In the Americas, in the American court, the ADOS are known as Afro-descendants and as indigenous people. As a result, the American descendants of slaves are an indigenous people. Black's Law Dictionary defines nationality as that quality or character which arises from the fact of a person's belonging to a nation or state. Nationality determines the political status of the individual, especially with reference to allegiance, while domicile determines his civil status. Nationality arises either by birth or by naturalization. The descendants of slaves, ADOS, were made American by the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment said, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Sadly, the ADOS were not really given these rights or these privileges. In fact, the Supreme Court and states have taken away the rights of the descendants of Afro-American slaves for hundreds of years. The Afro-American population has a tripartite origin. The majority of Afro-Americans descend from blacks in the United States up to the Revolutionary War. We are the descendants of three diverse black or Negro populations: Black Europeans, Black Native Americans, and Sub-Saharan Africans, and slaves from India. In the United States, African slaves were not allowed by slave masters to practice their native African culture or speak their native language. On the plantation, Black Native Americans were also not allowed to speak their languages. So we find that both groups of blacks, the Africans and the Black Native Americans, were forced to abandon their language and their culture on the slave plantations. After cotton became king, slaves were mostly sold to plantations in the Deep South. By the age of 5 years old, by the year 1800, slaves were being sold. This caused many American descendants of slaves to lose knowledge of their African and Black Native American origin. Other Afro-Americans are descendants of Black Europeans who came here as early as 1619, or Black Native Americans who were never enslaved. But although these Black Native Americans were never enslaved, many of them were forced to live in colored communities, and in these colored communities, they mated with other blacks. But I would guesstimate that around 80% of the Afro-American population are descendants of Sub-Saharan Africans and Black Native Americans who are ADOS. In my book, I explain the tripart origin of Afro-Americans. Here are my books. We must stop claiming to be a minority. In the Americans, in the inner American court, we are known as Afro-descendants and as indigenous people. As a result, the ADOS are an indigenous people. The ADOS deserve reparations.